There's also a gap sometimes between the technology, its capability today, it's evolving all the time, what we know it can do, what we know it's good at, because it can do some things that it's exciting, but it's not always particularly reliable. But what is it good at? Where can it deliver and deliver a meaningful ROI? Sometimes the gap between the organization and us and the technology. Welcome to the Implement AI podcast, the podcast where we explore the impact of AI on your business. I'm Piers Linney, alongside my co-host and co-founder of Implement AI, Dr. Aalok Shukla. We cover the real-world applications and impact of how AI can be practically applied to drive growth and efficiency in your organization. We cut through the jargon to focus on actionable strategies and use cases to highlight the transformational power of AI. Let's dive into today's conversation. Hi, I'm Piers.
I'm Aalok.
Well, this is going to be a fact and fun-filled episode of the Implement AI podcast. Got a lot going on. I mean, there's been a massive amount going on, actually. At the start of the year, it's been really, really hectic. But the big news is really we've got into our flow of events. So we recently had our London event. So we had about, 85 people turned up, which is quite amazing to get that many people to spend that much time, which is almost a full day, isn't it?
During the day, literally your
Almost
whole
a
afternoon.
full day at our event, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. A lot of today's so our event, we've written a new it's not even a white paper, is it? It's like the ultimate guide to deploying AI agents in your business, and it's called the AI Workforce Playbook. And our event was not completely about that, but a lot of it, the sort of practicalities of it, was based upon that. So we're going to do a series of 3 episodes, right, which we'll come on to in a minute, and we use those as the basis for our London event. We've got 3 podcasts. The first is going to be on, which is going to be today's. It's going to be on really, the second workforce. What is it? Where to deploy it? I'm going to go for examples of that. The second one's going to be a bit of a deeper dive into digital workers and AI agents. What are they? How do they work? And the last one's going to be really, okay, great. How do I move from a pilot now to AI agents, digital workers in production, pilots to platform? This episode is going to be about why are the old growth models broken. I love talking about that. What we have learned that businesses, the problems you have, and where we know AI can add value. We spent 3 years, working with literally hundreds of companies, and the things that AI can do, and the things that it does well, but the things what it does well, and it adds immediate value. So we're going to focus
With the
on
commercial levers. That's the main thing, basically, right?
exactly. And then what's the cost of doing nothing? Because increasingly is a cost. If you're listening to this and you're a business leader, small business, large business, doesn't matter, and you're not having a conversation about AI in your board meeting or your senior leadership meetings, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? Because this is the year to start doing it. And then why now? Why does that matter now? And then we're going to go through the second part, the 6 levels of opportunity where we know AI immediately adds value. So buckle up because here we go. So Alex, let's talk about first of all, let's talk about the content. So it's called the AI Workforce Playbook. We're going to put the link in the description, depending where you're listening or watching this. Well, we've got a thing on our website. If you go to implementai.io, we've got a resource center, and it's going to be in there. It's 100-page. Alex, just talk us through it.
Yeah, it's like
'Cause that
112
that
pages.
that was most of your Christmas break.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I actually finished it late November, early December. And why did I create this? I create this because we see so many conversations with businesses where essentially what's happening is because AI in this way, if you're talking about digital workforce, so I'm not talking about ChatGPT to associate department or a Claude to assistive department. That's a calculator. I'm talking about a colleague or a digital department. So the issue that was happening is that each department would have their own perspective on what could be done or what shouldn't be done, and there was no way for them to all have a full context window. So what we did was I put together like a 112-page guide, basically on like all of the elements of our AIOS, everything, and then also like in terms of like the commercial use cases, the quick wins you can kind of do, how you can actually understand everything. And even further down, there's role specific deep dives for like the CEO, there's a whole section on that, the CTO, all the technical architecture, for the CFO, the financial analysis, the COO, the operational elements. So you could actually think about, alternatives to hiring and scaling and really unlocking that digital workforce. So the purpose of this is that you can have a joined up conversation, and we'd printed out guides at the event and it went down really well, basically, isn't it? Right. That people can actually flick through, because this is basically like going from fully manual, like, I don't know, seeing a windmill or wind power, whatever that, to electric. And electricity is going to be in every single department. It's going to be powering every single new element of work. And so everybody needs to understand that this is not an IT project. So there needs to be a joined up way to have the conversation, and that's
That's
what
the
this is.
key. That's the key point that came out, isn't it? This is not. I said this all the time during my event. Like, this is not a project. This is not where you hire some technical people to run a project and a project manager, and you do it for 3 to 6 months, and you stop, and you come back 3 years later and do another one. This is going to be ongoing and an endless process.
Is training your people a project? Do you train them once and then that's done basically, right? Like, no, you're continue investing in, people development, skill development, everything else. Now, if you're going to have digital workers running parts of departments or assisting people, that also would want to be upgraded. And, the beauty of this is that by having all of this organized, as the technology is getting better and better, your workforce is getting upgraded as well. But there's a few things to take into consideration, and that's what we cover in that playbook.
And the last thing I'd say before we get into the detail is that we also wrote this because there's also a gap sometimes between, you know, the technology, its capability today, it's evolving all the time. What we know it can do, what we know it's good at, because it can do some things that it's, it's exciting, but it's not always particularly reliable. But what is it good at? Where can it deliver and deliver a meaningful ROI? Sometimes the gap between the organization and us and the technology. And we've trying to written this guide to help bridge that gap. So it helps you sort of understand where to start. So if you don't know much about Implement AI, go to our website. We've got a brand new website actually. It's just literally put it up for our event. So it's implementai.io. We've got a resources center. We've got our guide to our AIOS. We do a weekly webinar if you're interested as well on Thursdays. There's a link there. And please, if you like the podcast, we get great reviews. Please actually leave a review, especially on Apple Podcasts. Right, let's get into the detail. So let's talk about the second workforce, okay? If you're a business leader, why should you even care about this? High level.
So the second workforce, let's talk about this. Every single industry, whether you're, let's say, a healthcare group, or whether you're a professional services accounting firm, or you're an e-commerce company, or a HR or recruitment company, every business has its kind of like accepted operating profit. Like, basically, what happens is whether it's 15% or 20% or 10%, some businesses are even 5%, basically, right? And let's say if you're like a wholesaler of electrical goods. And what the reason for that is because for the task to be done, for, like, let's just say you want to sell 100,000 worth of product, service, whatever like this, that would require historically X number of people and X number of hours to service, fulfill, and operate that business basically. So there was, every time you added a chunk of sales, you'd have to add a chunk of human resource to support more sales basically, right? So that's where you kind of get to a point where there's kind of operating complexity and different issues there. Now, with AI, I am not going to be talking about calculators like ChatGPT. Here I'm talking about digital colleagues and digital departments. So if you've got digital workers, that's an entire new labor source that you can plug into your business. And what that can mean for you is that, like, what the humans were doing was one thing, but their cost per task was a certain thing. So imagine, for example, let's use simple numbers. Imagine someone's being paid £20 an hour, for example, right? Every 15 minutes that they're doing is £5, basically, right? So you can kind of work out that, like, what is each of those tasks that they're doing within the business costing? What's the cost of servicing a new customer and onboarding? And imagine you try and reach out to someone and you have to reach 3 times and you couldn't reach them. That could be 15 to 20 quid just to have one conversation, basically. Even though the conversation only took 2 minutes, that time still taken place, basically. Now, with digital workers, you can actually have a scalable, elastic workforce, and we'll talk about that, but you only pay per task. So when the work is done, you have a direct cost. So we've got this concept we call PCUs, productive capacity units. We've got articles on that. But essentially is you're buying output. You're buying work done. With human labor, you're basically buying time. And you're hoping that the time matches up with the task that needs to be done. So I think the second workforce here is, this is a massive competitive advantage. Like, before, they used to be having a team in the Philippines or having a team in South Africa and having, like, access to cheaper labor that could help you. This is a whole new category because it's not just about cheaper labor. It's actually about whole new capabilities that you couldn't do before. So I think that's why it's important. Like, with the digital workforce, it's scalable, always on. And before, the constraint was headcount, and that is not the case now.
Yes, I spent my many years as an investment banker, modeling P&Ls and businesses and, industry standard margins and all this stuff, everything down to, standard dividend yields. And And the point here is simply, if you imagine it, you've got your sort of revenue and you've got your margin, your gross profit margin especially. And the question is, well, your probably your EBITDA margin. The question is, can you detach additional growth, from additional revenue, increased capacity, increase in customer experiences? Can you detach that from the growth in your cost base? If you do, it makes a massive difference to your business. More margins, more money to invest, more to plow about, more money to take out if you want to, or a more valuable business. That's wealth creation.
Let's be concrete, okay? So if you think about cost per action, let's just use 4 examples, right? One could be like trying to contact a customer and reactivate them, for example. Another one could be like handling a support inquiry and with a ticket. Another one could be, analyzing, past meetings, past calls to spot missed opportunities. In all of those examples, let's just say, for example, a phone call. It could be £3.50 to £5 based on the amount of time to actually do it, research, log all the information in the CRM, go through everything, have the redials. But with the AI, you could be looking at, like, a fraction of that cost, basically like 90% cheaper, essentially, right? Like, and so if you start going down, you start thinking, okay, if a lot of these tasks could be 90% cheaper, 80% cheaper, 60% cheaper, it compounds. And essentially, the way we look at things is that if you're joining our AIOS, you can essentially have a team of 7 to 14 full-time employees for less than the cost of one, basically, right? So that's a labor arbitrage. And then what we start getting very interesting into is like these digital workers can do not just low-value tasks, very, very high value tasks. I think one of the slides I was using at our event was like you could have a digital worker that costs you the same, but it could do either £15 an hour worth of value, £500 an hour worth of value, or £10,000 an hour worth of value. Where would you start, basically? You give them the 10,000 hour tasks first, basically. And I think this is the key thing.
It's quite interesting that there's some research done by Anthropic. They do it every year. I think it's called the Anthropic Economic Index. And you can Google that and find it if you want to read it. And it's about the US market, but it's about where is AI having an impact on the sort of job market, essentially. And when you look at it, the research, if you summarize the whole report, it basically says that it's not the low value jobs, as Alok just said. It's the work actually that is quite high value and expensive. That's where it's actually having the most impact.
I saw like a post from Dario Amodei basically saying that software engineering in the next 6 to 12 months will be fully automated. And I'm seeing posts actually on my feed from different software engineers saying, I'm having an identity crisis. How do I reframe what I'm doing? And I was actually commenting on a couple saying a surgeon that operates through a robot is a robotic surgeon. It's a robot, it's a surgeon mind, robot hands, basically, right? It's no different that if it's an elite software engineer that knows what to ask and stuff like that, that's not vibe coding. That's, that's AI assisted engineering. But the point I'm trying to make here is we have ourselves many very talented software engineers applying for jobs in our solutions team because they can see that like their ability to like their usefulness of just writing code, that day is numbered basically, right? In terms of like your economic utility.
So let's go through. So again, we've spent 3 years talking to lots of companies. You can do lots of things with AI, right? But there's the 4 problems we know every business, well, almost every business has, that you can solve using digital workers, and adds a material amount of value. So let's just run through this quickly, sort of the headline 4.
Absolutely. So there's 4 problems that pretty much all businesses have, right? So one of the 4 problems is that you can't talk to everyone that wants to talk to you. So if you think about it, inquiries come in at 7 p.m. You call back at 10 a.m. if you're lucky, if not 10 a.m. 2 days later, basically. That customer's back at work, they're not available. So then you play this kind of chasing, then you say, oh, this leads are not serious, basically. Meanwhile, your competitor, which answered in the evening and got back to them immediately, they can kind of move further forward in that kind of way, basically, right? The second one is that your database is full of unconverted inquiries, potential customers that you've already paid for. So you've spent money on marketing, you've done SEO, you got web forms on your page, and you've just got used to these emails coming in and never turning into customers. And you think, well, if they were serious, they would actually contact me and go for it. No, you're wrong, basically, right? Because they couldn't find information that they wanted. And when they were ready to talk to you, you weren't around, basically, right? So then going back over all those people over the last 3 years, for example, so imagine in your database, how many leads you have in the past 3 years. That's in your CRM. What if you went through all your email inboxes? How many leads are in there that never got entered into the CRM that inquired about a product? Now, if you go through your phone recordings, how many people discussed and wanted to buy something and didn't do it? So you got so many leads that you never actually converted. And so if you're able to like apply a resource like an AI team to start engaging those and filtering who's available, that's another value that you can unlock in a big way. The third one is you've got no idea what's happening on your calls, meetings, and email communication, basically. And what that is basically your team is taking thousands of phone calls a month. How many missed an upsell? How many discussed something, but then said, okay, I'll be ready in 3 months' time. So it's scheduled to kind of contact them at that point. The same principle can be applied to unstructured information inside a Teams meeting. Forget meeting notes. Like, what high value information did they mention that their other department might be interested in this? Or they mentioned a competitor, or for example, they mentioned that they want to like research and launch this thing, and that's something for a different department in your company, but that's not your department. Every single day, there's all these different opportunities being surfaced and literally
It's so
told.
true that you said that most people now, we should have if you haven't already, have got their head around, oh, we need to record things and make meeting notes and lots of tools to do that. But then what? What do you do with the notes? How do you
But all
extract
the useful
value
stuff
from
is
them?
thrown away. All the use they just have like what was the purpose of that conversation, not all the peripheral things that can lead to additional revenue and opportunities and service. So that's like you've got no idea on those things. So that's another opportunity. And the fourth thing is your support team is a bottleneck, not a filter. So basically, when somebody says like, all agents are busy, please wait. Like we've been doing one thing, we mystery shop quite a lot of national groups, right? And the amount of time that I hear, first of all, press one for this, press two for this. Fine, we do that. Then it's like music playing. Oh, have you been to our website? Why don't you get serviced on our website? You spend 60 seconds or 2 minutes. It's like, I'm sorry, right? I'm calling you. Answer the phone, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I want to go on your website, right, then I'll
Why
go on your website.
why does anyone, I mean, I really mean this as well.
And
Why
people
does
pay money for
anyone
that.
got why has anyone got voicemail? Even quite big companies almost.
Exactly. So that what happens is they don't wait, they hang up, they go to your competitor, and you don't know what's going on. So you think about the cost of doing nothing in that sort of situation, right? If you imagine £2,000 of a customer lifetime value, average transaction, and every lost opportunity is £2,000 gone. And then I'm not even going to talk about the enterprise value that's gone because you lost that because your profit had gone up and everything. This you're missing, and if you're missing 3 conversions a week, that's like nearly £312,000 a year walking out the door, basically. And that's just, see, the thing is, this is all invisible to most business owners. They just accept it.
One is, we all say this in our podcast, record everything, right? Voice conversations are the kind of unstructured data, really, but it's the most important new data you can now leverage in the business. You couldn't do it before. You couldn't pay humans enough money to go through calls, unless it was compliance or training. You might pick 1 in 50, right? Now it's all of them in multiple dimensions. So the first one is this kind of that. So we do reports. We look at people's calls, we analyze them for missed opportunities, say, and we literally write reports where here's £500,000 sometimes of missed opportunity this month, right? It's insane. And then the other one is talk about mystery shopping.
Yeah. So basically, what people think, so there's that phrase, isn't it? It's not what you don't know that kills you. It's what you think is true that just ain't so, basically, right? So like for example, some national groups we've inquired with, and then we said like, are you interested in improving your customer responsiveness? And they're like, oh no, our team are already good and all that stuff. Like, that's fantastic, right? Happy to hear that. And we built some solution which can actually answer the calls in the evening. Like, okay, brilliant, no problem at all. Mystery shop them basically. So an AI posing as a patient or a potential customer or whatever like that. We've configured that. Well, actually, Neo's configured that in our system, and it'll then call hundreds, if not close to 1,000 locations, and it will pose as a customer and ask questions, basically like I'm interested in this. How much is it? When's the next available for you? And then based off this, you should be asking me whether you want to buy this from me or not, or basically. And then we've got the agent also scoring the things. The number of people that like answer the phone with like, yeah, what? Like, or even it's like, like
Always
the
one
worst.
time and no one's available.
I mean, the worst is like basically you spend ages on the thing. Please press one for this. Music plays, and then it says, we are closed for lunchtime. Please call back later. It's like, I'm sorry, like there was several locations that did that 3 times, and then we then send reports to actually like the C levels of
And
those companies,
these are quite big companies, right? And
very big
we
companies.
might call 100, 200 locations. They're thousands.
Yes, and these people have stakeholders. They're accountable to their board, and they've also got like fiduciary responsibility to make sure that their resource is done in the right way, basically, right? And in those situations, like you can see almost like when you share it with people, you can almost see like the blood drain from their face when they listen to some of these calls because you have to listen to the call. Like it's not about reading the email, like, and we attach calls like listen to them basically, right? Or see what happens. Or this place was called 3 times and that's what happened. Or your southern locations are upselling and cross-selling less. Like very interestingly, and we found that like for one group, the branches in the north, most of the team members gave their name on the call, like very quickly. So like because our AI was asking like, sorry, what was your name basically, and they would give it. the southern ones wouldn't actually give their name, basically, right? Like, or they were kind of evasive around it, and they were just trying to get to the kind of point. But the northern ones were like more friendly, and they were longer conversations, and you got a lot more information out of it. And they were very, very good, actually, to be honest, right? I'm not going to generalize too much, but that was a trend we saw, like.
So again, that's the power of voice, right? You can do that. You couldn't do it before. So we're going to get into the six levels of opportunities we call it. But just let's just talk about quickly though. 2026, right? The technology can add a huge amount of value now, and there's the issue now about these kind of early movers, late movers. You've got your laggards essentially. And the point here we talk about a lot in our presentations as well is that I call it the ship leaving the harbor. There's a point where if you don't implement this, okay, your competitors do, it's going to become harder and harder to catch up or even keep up.
You have a structural disadvantage, right? So if you think about, like, say, okay, so we're talking about which competitors, which industries. The canary in the coal mine industry is software engineering and SaaS companies and stuff like that, for example, right? So if you think about it, right, there's many SaaS companies where they've got engineers used to kind of producing a certain amount of code every week and doing things in a particular way. So the cost of to do it, the product manager, the blah blah, the lead time to get anything done was ages, basically, and the cost of doing that was all the people time. You look at Anthropic, right? They launched Claude Cowork within 12 days, basically, right? And basically, their AI engineer, like literally Anthropic, right? It's Opus 4.5, wrote most of the software code for it. Now, it was obviously fed back and reviewed by humans to a degree, but basically, it was all done that way, and that was in 12 days. So think about it. One company can see signal in all its customers and then release a compelling product, which is creating even more demand within 2 weeks, basically. And another one has a potentially a meeting scheduled where someone says, "Oh, I think we should do this. Let's schedule a meeting for like 2 weeks from now," and then to start to discuss it. You're in a completely different structural place. Never mind the cost structure and
Well,
everything
but
like that.
so I've spent many years into the technology and especially enterprise technology, and you had this idea that sometimes it's good to be third. Sometimes it's good to be a fast follower because you can see the mistakes they make. I'm not sure that's the case in AI.
It's not even about being first now because most things have been already happening with many different businesses, basically. Like, you've got examples of like companies where they've already done this in different departments. Like, we're in 2026, right? This started in 2023. So right now you've got many good examples in different places. And the key thing is where they've actually tied it to a commercial use case.
Right, before we do that, let's just go for our normal sort of adverts about ourselves. So, implement AI. We developed a platform called AI OS. So, it lets you to deploy production AI agents, digital workers, whatever you want to call them, in your organization, within a couple of weeks. So, 3 years of insights built into the platform. We're already building version 2, which is going to be even more powerful. So go and take a look at that. Sign up for our newsletter. Log into our resources center. If you haven't done it yet, while we're talking about it, as we go through this podcast, download our AI Workforce Playbook. So over 100 pages, and it's like the ultimate guide, really, of how you start thinking about deploying AI agents, digital workers, and where. So
Yeah, we also work increasingly with more and more partners, basically, right? So if you've got like an MSP or a consultancy, whatever like this, and some of your customers want to deploy digital workforces, then join our partner program. So that's implementai.io/partner. And we've got some very interesting, resources where you can almost build that whole extra revenue stream and also unlock opportunities for yourself as well.
yeah, so we are differentiated in the fact that we want to build a partner channel. So if you're a consultancy, small or large, MSP, even a comms business, deploying comms solutions, come and talk to us about how you can add an AI offering to your service offering because you're going to need to. And the beauty of it is, doesn't matter what you sell, it's a fantastic tool to go and engage and have new conversations with customers that you probably were struggling to have before.
One of the most interesting things is like IT companies, for example, like they can actually unlock more services for themselves by supporting their customers in that. So really exciting, and we hope to hear from you.
Right, let's get into the six levels then. Let's rattle through these and try and we said in our event this is the ladder, right? It's a ladder. It's not just a menu. So this is where we've spent 3 years working with organizations, and we can tell you hand on heart that this is where you can make money.
Absolutely. So let's think about this. Just like you said, Piers, this is a ladder, right? So imagine 6 floors, okay? And imagine on each of these 6 floors, as you go through the floor, like walking through, there's so many opportunities, but you want to start with each of them highest value opportunities in each of these 6 categories. So let me go through the 6 levels first, and then we'll go a bit deeper into each one, basically, right? So first of all, level one, analytics. find hidden money. Basically, what this is like from data you've already got, conversations, different stuff will come to that. Second one is responsiveness. Never miss an inquiry. So that's like being as responsive as quickly as possible. Level 3 is reactivation. You know, engage everybody that's already contacted you in your universe. Level 4 is going to be self-service, helping customers help themselves without the need for humans to be able to do things. Level 5 is operations, removing manual drag, getting things done more efficiently with least touches. Level 6 is going to be creating new opportunities through compounding in new research and be able to like target people in ways you never been able to do before. So, and then there's the compounding effect of that afterwards. So there's 6 levels of opportunity. Those are applicable whether you've got talented team members or we've got talented technology. So the question is, how quickly can you do it? And at the same time, how much can you of the upside can you capture as quickly as possible? So let's
Right.
go level 1
Before we
first of
jump
all.
into it quickly, so in our podcast number episode 67, right, we went through, there's a lot of talk at the time about why lots of AI projects fail, okay? And we go through a long list, I guess, of 15 reasons why they fail and how you avoid that. And one of the biggest ways you avoid that is by following this list because we
Yes,
know that it works.
exactly. Because this is what we're talking about here is magnifying and amplifying commercial levers in your business. Many people want to go into experimental use cases, which are not tied to anything, basically, right? They have a
Which
place.
listen, you can do, just don't expect an ROI, a measurable one
Do
yet.
both.
Yeah. Well,
You
yeah,
know, like
okay, even better.
so it's just,
Yeah.
like
Do it
life is
all.
never
Yeah.
binary. Why does it have to be this or that, basically, right? So let's talk about level 1, analytics. Find hidden money. Imagine AI reviews 100% of all your calls and emails. Humans will sample not even 2%. How many people, hand on heart, have team members going through last week's inbox, going through 2 weeks' inbox, going through last week's phone calls, 3 months ago phone calls, and
Or
spotting?
somebody's left.
Yeah, exactly. All the past inboxes, all the phone messages from people that left, finding missed upsells, objections, competitor mentions. Like, generally, just by implementing like a starter analyst agent for the phone calls or even team meetings and stuff like that, you can get 15 to 25% more upsells, increase 10 to 20% close rate, and you also have like many high value opportunities where people want to buy something expensive and they didn't go ahead. And you can actually do that. So that's the lowest friction, fastest proof way to actually like do things.
And that could be multiple dimensions kind of analytics. So it can be even like sentiment analysis. It could be training, or is the sales team following the script? Are they ticking the box, the cross sells, upsells? Is that cross sell, upsell relevant? Are they saying things they shouldn't sell? So a bit of compliance. There's so much you can do.
Yeah, so within there, you've got like what we'd call a parent analyst agent and child analyst agent. So parent analyst agent could be like identifying and filtering all the opportunities. Child analyst agent would be like only for sales, spotting all the opportunities there. Then another one would be for support, finding all the friction points, finding all the people with churn risk, finding all the people with other stuff like that. So just high level analytics, find hidden money, right? We got that one. Let's go to the next level. Responsiveness. Never miss an inquiry, okay? Many people, 40% of inquiries appear outside 9 to 5, right? On the weekend, how many businesses have you inquired with? I send emails on the weekend often because I'm trying to reach people or do things or I'm researching stuff or imagine I want to buy something, I'll inquire to a few places during the week and then they just never get back to you, isn't it, right? So the question is like, if AI can handle nights, evening and weekends by asking interesting questions, by qualifying better, by, for example, increasing your quoting process, then you can have a 2 to 3x conversion over next day scenarios, or it's an immediate competitive advantage. So think about this, right? Responsiveness can be in different dimensions. You call in the evening, they answer straight away, and not just answers, not just takes a message. Like people got voicemail. Please, if you have voicemail, bin it and just get an AI which will start answering and asking questions immediately because you're missing the opportunity. You have all this motivation, all this interest coming into your phone.
Voicemail tends to be smaller companies. That by voicemail, I would include a terrible IVR.
Yeah, or a message taking service from a third party, which is just asking questions.
An out of hours message taking service. We've got some customers paying thousands and thousands of pounds a month for it. Don't need it anymore.
Yeah, with hundreds of thousands of pounds of lost opportunity because the right questions weren't asked. So the question is right here, if you ask qualifying questions, right? So there was one, I was at the NatWest event earlier last week, basically, and someone I spoke to, he goes, oh, I work in the shipping container business, and I don't think we can use AI because we're not a high-tech business. And I said, okay, so what do you sell shipping containers for? And he goes, well, there's two kind of customers. One customer is basically people that want to have like a porter cabin for a building site, and they just buy loads of different ones. The other one is people that want to create cafes or restaurants from a shipping container. I said, "Oh, that's interesting." And then he goes, "But I don't know how we're going to do things." And I said, "Well, let's break this down. The person that's going to be buying a shipping container for a port cabin, they're probably buying regularly from you all the time. They goes, yeah, that's right, because we've got fast delivery and we're straightforward, and it's been a family business for a long time. I said, great. So they kind of know what they want, basically, right? But then all the other people, basically, right, which then are like trying to create a restaurant for the first time, I bet it's their first restaurant or cafe. He goes, exactly. I said, so I bet there's some questions you could ask them which could improve like the number of upsells or the customization, which could be like, I want to add, a roof seating area. I want to add this insert. I want to have maybe even examples of other people who've done things with ideas and stuff like that. He goes, yeah, absolutely. He goes, actually, while I've been here, I've had 3 inquiries come through already, and now it's past 5. No one's going to come back to them till tomorrow, basically, right? So again, increasing that responsiveness is not just, don't think of it as like take a message. It can be actually like, what are you trying to do? You want to have a restaurant? Okay, great. Whereabouts are you based? Do you have an existing restaurant? Okay, that's interesting. And then AI can then like research
But
and I'll
the thing
come
is
back.
also, it's not just you can capture information, you're right, apply intelligence, which is great. You can hand over to the sales team for follow-up, but actually, as we do as well on our website, if you want to experience this in real time, go and talk to Ava on our website, is send a note, a summary of the conversation, maybe some sales literature, maybe even a basic outline of a quote immediately, within minutes.
And imagine they sent a photo of or whatever the details of the things. You could even show them what a simulated version of their restaurant could look like, basically. Now, you're going to have that emotional connection with that place. So responsiveness is time to value as far as I look at it, right? Someone's got an inquiry. How quickly can you deliver some value to that customer, basically, right? So that's the whole point, right? It's that immediate competitive advantage that just like take that inquiry and then be able to like surface that into interest. Third is reactivation. So working leads you already got for. So old leads are not dead. So imagine you sell a high value service, let's just say plastic surgery, laser eye, new roof, new kitchen, basement, loft, whatever, basically, right? These are typically one-time purchases, or you're not going to buy it until a multi-year is gone, basically, right? So those people are considered. Now, when somebody inquires, something triggered in their life that they're like, okay, I found a new basement or fancy a new loft or whatever it is, but then they might not have bought and gone ahead. But you should not assume that 3 years later they've already bought something. If you actually called all those people, and we do this all the time, many of them are actually still looking for something. And then they could actually say, well, you never got back to me before. You say, I'm sorry, I can do that for you now. How can I go for that? So that's like reactivating that database at scale via
But also,
voice.
I'd add to that a lot that a lot of people, you don't think about reactivation because
It's,
naturally,
n- it's
because
nobody's
it's
job.
just impossible to do. It's just too expensive. You're not going to read over all those emails. You're not going to go for all those calls, like pay a human to listen to it and make notes. It's not going to happen. So you've got to get out of the mindset of that's impossible because now it completely is.
Yeah, and if you look at like, if you've got 100,000 leads in your database, right? And you imagine, let's just say, for example, 1% might convert, like say that's 1,000 leads, right? And if you've got like, 1,000 leads and you're looking at like, a £2,000, like service, that's a lot of money. You understand? That's a lot of money that's going to be like
But
unlocked from within.
even knowing that, you're not going to put a team of humans on it to
That's
do it.
2 million quid. No, because and also the human would hate you, because 'cause they'd be like, "Why am I doing
Yeah.
something that nobody else is doing?" Make them call 50 people a day. They don't wanna do that, so they're not gonna do it for you, basically, right? So the point is, it could be voice, SMS, two-way, email, personalized and not spam, and you could ask interesting questions, and it's pure revenue with 0 acquisition costs, so that's very important to do. So that's like level 3. Level 4 is self-services, help customers help themselves. So you think about it, right? Somebody phones and says like, "I'm having an issue with this product," right? How do I fix it, for example? So the AI can actually talk them through saying, okay, I understand you got this issue. Um, do you have it in front of you? Let's talk it through. So tell me, step 1, change this, press this, reset this. Does that help improve you? How much more useful is that for you versus actually just like, oh, have you got your receipt? Have you got this? Oh, you need to like file a ticket and post the thing back or whatever. You could do much more kind of like diagnosis, or you could be like, where is my order? So you could look up your order for you and give you that information. Or it could be like, can I query my bill? And obviously, with the authentication stuff like that, it could give you information on that. So the point is, AI can help resolve 70% of support inquiries, give instant answers. When I say instant answers, it might look up for like a minute or something, but it'll still solve it. So it'll have total resolution in that way.
And that can be external and not support for customers. There can be internal support as well. So where's it? How's it? How do I do this? Where's the SOP? So even HR almost all those questions you ask as a business leader or manager.
I was asking at the event, right? I said like, who here has got like many junior people asking a senior person questions, and they were saying loads of people, and they said like, and how much is that senior person's time worth? They were like saying, 70 quid an hour, 200 quid an hour, 500 quid an hour. And I said, okay, and how many hours a week are they doing that? And some people said 20 hours a week. That's insane, right? That's the cost of that person's time being done in this way. And also, unfortunately, that customer, that team member will still ask again the next week that question,
But
basically,
if
right?
you imagine that in a reasonably large organization, how much time, effort, energy, resource goes into basic conversations, be it support, be it customer, be it Wismo, where's my order, or be it, how do I do this? It's an enormous amount of time. It's
Or
just
can I change my
woeful.
appointment? Can I do this? Can I do
Yeah.
that? Like all that kind of stuff. So this can like, reduce churn because you're much more responsive. It frees human capacity for like the meaningful stuff that can connect with people. And remember, when we talk about AI answering the phone or email, stuff like this, it's not binary. The AI can then transfer to a person once we know there's an issue there, right? And this can result in a much better experience because it's a combination
And
approach,
you
essentially.
can explain this in AI. You don't have to explain this in AI. You can explain this in AI if somebody asks if it's in AI. Lots of ways you can
Yeah.
do it. And the best thing to do is we find is just with your customer and your business is just try and sample it in segment like 50 calls at a time until you find your sweet spot and then go with it.
Exactly, and the thing is, like, some service on the weekend or evenings is better than no service at all, isn't it, basically? And then we were showing at our event, actually, our version 2, support agent, which is gonna come out, in our AIS version 2, where the AI is actually doing a live call with the customer on a computer, and then the customer shares the screen, and they talk them through the software on the screen. I already had, one SaaS company very interested in talking to us about, like, helping be their customer success function, essentially, right? So there's so many interesting things there. So then the next level is operations, removing manual drag. So imagine back office workflows. This came in, please check these things. There's nothing swearing in here. What did someone refer to a customer in the wrong way before that gets into the system? Or is there anything in here which does not meet our guidelines? Or do the hours add up to the invoice or whatever things like that? Checking a few different things and did they actually go to that location and verifying it before it puts in. So all these operational processes can, like data entry, reporting, you can have 70 to 85% labor reduction on those tasks. Does require process clarity. Okay, it's very important. And I would also say this is something to do later on because it's typically a £15 an hour task or £20 an hour task. And I'm much more interested in the £10,000 an hour task to do first. However, basically, once you've done all those ones, there are these opportunities to do this, which then again detaches the cost
Although
base of the
there's one that I've had a lot of personal experience of, which is sales operations. So
yeah, an app bit,
there's
definitely.
two angles to that. So one is salespeople, let's
I was
face
talking
it,
about computer use.
they hate updating CRMs. So you didn't have to. Just listen to the calls, read the emails, and do it for them essentially. And then there's your sales operations, which is, documentation, compliance, follow-ups. You can automate a lot of that. So it might not be £500 an hour kind of work, but it's really valuable work because it's helping accelerate sales.
Yeah, and so your team then get better bonuses and they do things. I was talking about like a more complex thing where the AI is actually operating the computer and doing that kind of stuff directly, basically. But you're absolutely right. There's so many of those where basically it's like giving all your salespeople, support people, and operations people an electric bike. How much easier is it to cycle up a hill? I've heard there's a company coming out with a very good electric bike.
Yeah,
I'll come
I
back
can
to
help
that.
them out with that if they want. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Atherton bikes for the best electric mountain bike. But what I'm trying to say, like, if you get a team member, they have to cycle up a hill, okay? How much happier would they be if they're electric bike? You just basically just go through the motions of moving your feet, and then the thing moves uphill. It's that electric bike principle basically to all of your kind of
And it's
operations. So it's like
also normally you have I mean, we used to have like, a sales operations person to, I don't know, 10 salespeople call it. Now
system.
everyone can have one.
Exactly. And so that means they can get much more done, basically. The level 6 is opportunity, which is basically research, creating new opportunities. So this is very interesting. So we do this quite often with businesses where we can create a unique data set for them. So let's just say they want to sell to certain types of business, okay? And they want to like basically expand their opportunity, but they've got a very high value service. And they've even got a sales team, but they don't know who to contact. So here we can actually research those companies and say, okay, go to their websites, grab all the information, find out all the information about them, maybe even go to company's house, find out information, see what signals they put out recently. Have they acquired new locations? Have they been invested in recently? Have they announced some plans for something? What's their company's report say? What's their vision? What's their operating percentage? What's all that kind of stuff? And then from all those things, what technologies have they got? What technology is the website built from? All of that information, is it privately owned? Is it commercially owned for a group? Is it got private equity investment? Are they trying to seek a private equity investment? What's the directors like? How many people are there? What's their personality type? Like all of this kind of stuff. You can then create, then the research can then say, okay, these are the categories to go after. These are like the high volume producers with independent ownership. So they're going to be very interested in cost saving per unit because they go through a high volume and they're independent ownership. So they can make purchasing decisions locally. They could be contacted with one type of offer and it'd be finding out. And we found that with AI, it can contact people and actually book appointments cold with people they've never spoken to before because these are highly filtered. And this is very exciting.
Some of those we use voice aids to do a lot of those. It's like a 9-minute conversation.
It's very interesting because and some of them can even be like, okay, if you give me a price on this, then I'm potentially looking at it basically, right? Because if you've already got the social proof from other things and stuff like that, now the question is like they got a problem and you're offering to save them some money on each unit, so therefore you can kind of get in there. So this
But also, well,
research,
the other point is that you can use, I'm not going to mention the names, but there are lots of sales databases. I'm on some of them, I think. I keep getting phone calls, and that's great, but everybody does that. So if you're
that's
using
all data.
database X, you can use that, that's fine, but then enrich it, add to it.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like, for example, with the professional services firms, right? Like, you can do things you could never do before. So, for example, let's just say you've got like a professional services firm and you're providing one level of professional service. Let's just say it's like audit or whatever like that to companies, for example, right? But then at the same time, you got your partner fully engaged in that. But there's all sorts of other things that your firm as a whole, or even your firm maybe bought a different law firm or different things like this as a whole. This person, this partner is not trying to cross sell to those people. But imagine, for example, this partner can then get information where basically that from that conversation, the agent will then say, okay, let's go to this company. How many people are in that company? What other services do they need? Who are their professional advisors buying other things from them? Could we not cross sell them or offer a total value contract with different things like this and go from it? So all these sorts of things, like in that could even be an output of like 50 lunches for your team member to organize. Like have lunch with these 50 people. Like obviously I'm doing an AI voice agent to call the partner of a international shipping company to like try and bring their, commercial lease review business to you and stuff like that. But you can have meeting notes for like when your next partner reaches that. There could be a joint Teams call where the other partner just happens to join 5 minutes. All that stuff makes a difference, right?
We call this a ladder as if it's stacked on top of each other, but it doesn't really, does it? It's compounds really.
Exactly. Everything compounds, everything feeds into everything. You unlock some revenue from your reactivation, you increase your ad budget, you get more leads coming through, you've got faster lead inquiries in the evening, those come through much faster. You've got the team members empowered to actually like start taking orders because they've already been quoted and got all the information from the AI and everything like that.
You've got slick sales operations, updating CRM and follow-ups.
Everything it becomes a flywheel basically, right? But the thing is like, have you seen those flywheels which basically have like almost like fireworks at different points, right? And they basically like they're each powering the movement much further, and then you start getting like really spinning. So that's the kind of thing you can have, right? Just having it in one area can help you power much faster. But having it in all the areas, it gets exponential basically, right? And that's the whole point.
It's the AI Catherine wheel. It's
I mean, like the way I kind of look at it is that basically, like, this is just like going from I don't know, a manual steam train to a bullet train with maglev, basically, right? Like don't have the friction of actually being in contact with the track. You can move fast. All the stations you have to stop at before have been removed, and you're just kind of going to the state
And
direction of where you
I
can.
keep saying that if you're on a maglev, right, and someone's still on a steam choo-choo, there's gonna be a point where they're not gonna catch you up.
No, of course not.
Right, so what are we actually
And your
building
team
then?
will
So
leave. Your
yeah,
team will
well,
leave
your
your
team's
steam
gonna go and
train,
work for them. Absolutely right. I always say, where's talent gonna go and work? An organization is automated the mundane
and it will happen in
or
one
one that
go.
hasn't.
It's not going to happen slowly,
Yeah,
slowly. It'll be quite shocking, basically, right?
yeah. So just reframe it then. So bring that all together, right? Don't think about buying AI tools or software.
No.
This is employing entire teams of digital workers.
You're basically upgrading your company, basically, right? You're upgrading all your team members, you're adding departments either to AI assist, like the pedal assist with electric bike part of it, or you're actually like, adding a whole department which will take care of things independently. So the point you're trying to do here is you're unlocking labor capacity at scale. So the conversation you've got to be able to do is like, if I gave all my team members the equivalent of electric bike, how much further could they cycle every day? Like that's just the basic thing, right? And then on top of that, you can say like, okay, if I had some autonomous vehicles as well, which were driving people around, how many more people could I travel around each day? Basically, think about your team right now. They've got pedal bike rickshaws. Okay, how many customers can they drive around a pedal bike rickshaw? Right now, you give them electric ones, and you add a fleet of Tesla or whatever
Or
brand you want,
an EV
autopilot
toll.
cars. Yeah,
It's like an
exactly.
EV
Your
toll.
capacity, your
Um,
capacity just increases, isn't it? Right?
right. We'll leave it there, right? So we're 40 odd minutes in. So we're trying, we know you're all busy. So part two is going to be equally as much information. Again, this is all in our AI Workforce Playbooks on our website, or the link will be in the description, depending where you're listening or watching to this. But the next one, episode two, is going to be about what are digital workers, what are they, and how do they work together, and how do you start deploying them?
Yeah, all the specific minutiae of all that we'll go into as well.
So again, please leave, if you enjoy the podcast, please leave a review, especially on Apple. It really does help us. log on, go to the website, have a look around the website, have a look at the old podcast, have a look at podcast 67 as well about why AI projects fail, and we explain to you why they don't have to and why they shouldn't. And please download and read our white papers. And look out for the next one, and share our pod with other people. If you know anybody in business, business leader, running a business, starting about building a business, please share a link. Help us get this information and our message out there, because yes, we're in a business, we want to sell AI, but we do fervently believe that this is transformational for you personally and your business and whatever economy you happen to be contributing to.
Absolutely. And so if you want to learn more about it, go to our website, implementai.io, or every Thursday, we also have like live digital webinars where you can actually experience and learn more from there. But listen, great to talk with everybody, and let's go for it.
Yeah, thank you. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Implement AI podcast. If you're interested in learning more about how we can assist you and your business in leveraging AI for growth and efficiency, visit our website at implementai.io. Don't forget to subscribe to the Implement AI podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you listen to stay updated on future episodes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.